USTEC 100, and we've been having some quite interesting situations going on in this market since the beginning of the week. Remember, we were buying at some point. That was the first day of the week before some selling potential came in yesterday, taking us out of the buy position, and how we talked about looking out for selling opportunities if price breaks down the 16,015 level and of course the ascending trend line here. So let's take a quick look into how the market started for us this week. Now, at the beginning of the week, we saw this range here where price was initially confined between the 15,845 level and the 15,790 area to give us an insight into the level of uncertainty going on in this particular market. And you know how we do it whenever price action falls into this kind of range. We want to exercise patience and wait for either the breakout or breakdown of that range to give us an opportunity to trade. Now, I can remember that during our live session on Monday, I told us all that I already have a breakout of structure, buy position triggered at the breakout of that level, and I did mention that for those of us who missed out on this one, should exercise patience and see if the market will come back to retest the structure in anticipation of the uptrend continuation, which was exactly what happened as we saw price continue to the upside. And in fact, we were able to scoop in about three more positions as we rode the momentum all the way to the upside, adding more positions at the breakout of levels such as the 15,800, 15,970, and of course, I think, we only have three positions on the USTEC 100, and on those three positions, we saw how price moved over 200 pips on the first one. Then the second one, we saw about 180 pips. And then the third one, we had about 100 pips, giving us roughly 400 pips for the first trading day of the week, which was not bad at all. Then during our live session yesterday, we talked about this consolidation phase right here, where we saw price confined within the 16,065 level and the $16,015 area, where we said a breakout in any particular direction will be giving us clues into where price is likely going for yesterday's trading session. And we saw what happened here. Price did break down the 16,015, and for those of us who capitalize on that opportunity, well done and kudos to you for being on standby to capitalize on that move, as we saw price move over 150 pips in our favor. And I do hope that you moved your stop losses accordingly, and if you had done that, you must have been taken out with a minimum of 80 to 100 pips on that sell positions as well. Kudos to you everyone for being on standby to capitalize on that one. And if you remember what I said here yesterday, that if price drops and then goes into that zone between the 15,800 and the 15,850, we are likely going to be seeing some buying opportunities. That if we see reversal patterns there, we want to get ready for an uptrend move, and if price goes on to break down structure, we will be looking for ways to add more sell positions to our existing trend. And as you will see, buy pressure did resume around this area, taking us out of all sell positions. So we will be looking at how we are going to be capitalizing on the next move. And for the sake of those who are not part of our earlier sessions, let's quickly run through the higher time frame so we can all be on the same page by taking a quick look from at the higher time frame from an holistic perspective as well. Now, on the 4 hours time frame was basically where our center of focus began for this week. And of course, we noticed that price action has been on a strong bullish momentum since the beginning of this month. And we have a couple of ascending trend lines here, which of course emphasize the strength of the buyers in this particular market. And you know how we use our ascending trend line. As long as price remains above the ascending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in our buy position and look out for more opportunities to buy. Now, in addition to this ascending trend line, we were able to spot some very important levels. Most especially is the key level situated at the 15,850 area, which we said we will be using as a yardstick to guide our trading decisions for this week. How you know how we use our key levels in this community? As long as price remains above the key level, we want to be looking out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of buying that asset. And because of this key level was broken at the beginning of the week, that was why we bought the USTEC 100. Now, coupled with that was the fact that price was within a range, and we said we want to be capitalizing on that uptrend even before the breakout of the resistance line happened. Now, if you look at what has been going on since the beginning of the week, we can see how price broke out of the key level at the 15,850, came back to retest the structure, though it didn't come close to that area. But the fact that we saw buy pressure resume above that level shows us that sellers are even finding it difficult to bring price close to the key level. Now, the continued buy pressure for me at this area is a beautiful sign that price is likely going to continue to the upside. And in fact, if price will take out the resistant line of this range for the second time, at this point in time, I want to feel very confident of adding more buy positions to my existing trade. Now, with the information we have gathered here on the 4 hours time frame, then another thing I would like to state here is the highest point where price action has been for this week, which is exactly at the 16,065 level. With price continues further to break out of that structure, we will be adding more position. Now let's scale back down into the 1 hour time frame. I just wanted us to see what things are looking like from an holistic perspective, so when we discuss on a lower time frame, you will be able to understand what we were trying to say and see things from the same perspective. Now, what I did this morning while trying to dissect the current market structure was to try to understand the psychology behind this area. As you will see that since the New York session yesterday, we saw our price was confined within the 15,800 and the 15,940. There's a typographical error here, so let me just include that in 15,940, as you will see here. Now, one thing we did here was what I did here this morning was to consider this whole consolidation phase as a reversal pattern. And why have I said that? Well, if you look at the nature of these candles that tested the 15,800, you will see that we had sharp rejection, revealing that sellers were finding it difficult to settle below that level. And in that regard, during the early hours of today, we saw some higher lows here, which reveals that buyers are gradually gaining some momentum. So for me, I saw this as a reversal pattern, and you know how we do it when we identify reversal patterns on our chart. The next thing we want to be doing is to mark out the neckline, which interestingly lines up with the 15,940 level. Now, we need price to break out of that neckline to validate the potency of that reversal pattern, which appears to be happening right now. As you will see that in the last 30 minutes, we have seen this increased bullish momentum around the 15,940, breaking out of that candle. Now, for those of you who capitalize on this breakout, well done to you. Kudos to you for being on standby to capitalize on that move, and please ensure you have your stop losses somewhere right below the previous low, which will be dovetailing to between 40 to 50 pips depending on where your entry was at. Then another thing I would like to call our attention to is the descending trend line here. That's from the retracement of that impulsive move that we witnessed at the beginning of the week. It appears that this trend line has also been broken. So if you had missed out on the breakout of the 15,940, well, I will advise for you to exercise patience, and let's see if the market would either come back to retest the 15,940 or this descending trend line in anticipation of another wave of bullish momentum. So this simply means that your stop losses should be right below the descending trend line so that it can capture all the potential movements in price action back into this area before the potential uptrend situation happens here. So on the USTEC 100 for today, I remain bullish and will continue to look out for more opportunities at the breakout of levels such as the 15,970, the $16,015 area, and of course the 16,065 level around this area. So things are looking very bullish today on the USTEC 100. We remain bullish as long as price remains above the 15,940 on the USTEC 100. Now, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunity on the USTEC 100, we cannot ignore the potentials that sellers could to push price to the downside. Now, with that in mind, if I am going to be selling the USTEC 100, what is it that we want to see on this chart that will make us feel comfortable and confident to negate the bullish idea we just identified here? Well, personally, if I were you, I will be looking out for price taking out all the buy positions within the 15,800 and the 15,850 for me to start considering selling. And remember that we will not be getting too excited, as we will need some further confirmations to give us a confidence of joining a sell move. So the only condition that will make me sell here is for price to drop below the zone, retest of structure, then we can join that decline to the downside. So that is the only scenario here that will make us consider selling the USTEC 100. And besides this, I'm of the opinion that price will continue to the upside today. So let's remain bullish here and only change to bearish if price breaks down the range between the 15,800 and the 15,850. Oh, sorry, what's this? 15,880. This 15,880. Sorry about that. This 15,880 and 15,850. So let's see how the market will react to the structure. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section.